Indonesia is seeking to strengthen diplomatic channels with both the United States and Russia. President Prabowo Subianto in Moscow for talks with counterpart Vladimir Putin, looking to lock down Indonesia's energy supplies amid uncertain delivery from the Middle East. At the same time, the defense minister is in Washington to meet his counterpart, Pete Hegseth. Reports say the U.S. is seeking blanket overflight access for American military aircraft through Indonesian airspace. And from CNA's Saifulbahri Ismail joins us live from Jakarta. Saiful, let's talk first about that visit to the Pentagon by Indonesia's defense minister. It's early days yet, although in this plan for overflight.
Well, Wei Su, at the heart of the proposal is a plan that would allow U.S. military aircraft to pass through Indonesian airspace without needing to seek approval for every single flight. Instead, the U.S. would only need to notify Indonesian authorities, a move aimed at improving its ability to respond to regional tensions. Now, for example, if tensions between China and Taiwan escalate, the U.S. may be able to move its assets quickly across the region. It was reported that in February this year, the U.S. Department of Defense had sent a document to Indonesia's Ministry of Defense titled Operationalizing U.S. Overflight. The proposal outlines a formal arrangement where Indonesia would allow U.S. aircraft to transit its airspace. Once activated, the system would allow continuous access based on notification rather than case-by-case clearance, significantly reducing the usual procedural hurdles. Now, Indonesia's defense ministry said in a statement today that the two countries are still discussing the matter and that there's only a preliminary draft that's being discussed internally. The ministry said that control over Indonesian airspace belongs to Indonesia. Now, the U.S. already has similar arrangements in place with key allies like Australia, Japan, and the Philippines, but bringing Indonesia into that network would be a major development, given its strategic location at the heart of Southeast Asia. Now, analysts say this could reshape military mobility in the region. They say greater U.S. access through Indonesian airspace could shift the strategic balance and potentially raise tensions, especially at a time when competition between major powers in the Indo-Pacific is already intensifying.
Saiful, another visit, this time the president himself in Russia. And if we look at his entourage, it includes the foreign minister as well as energy ministers. So we do have a good suggestion of what Mr. Prabowo will be discussing with Mr. Putin.
That's right, Wei Su. President Prabowo is expected to discuss energy security with President Vladimir Putin as global oil markets come under pressure from the ongoing conflict in Iran. Now, the war has pushed up oil prices and raised fresh concerns about supply, making energy a top priority for Indonesia right now. The Indonesian government says it will continue working with Russia to help ensure a stable energy supply. The Kremlin has also indicated strong global demand, saying it has received a surge of requests for Russian energy as the current crisis shakes oil and gas markets. Now, this meeting comes at a critical time. Indonesia has already introduced energy-saving measures, including fuel rationing and work-from-home arrangements for civil servants to manage its reserves. Now, Indonesia's relationship with Russia oil has been complicated. Officially, purchases have been rare, but there have been instances where ship tracking data suggested otherwise, even as the government denied imports, largely to avoid geopolitical pressure and the risk of secondary sanctions linked to Russia's war in Ukraine. Buying Russian oil could expose Indonesia to diplomatic pressure from the US and the European Union and potentially affect trade and investment ties. But there are signs that the stance is shifting. Indonesia's energy minister has recently indicated the country is now more open to buying Russian oil.
Thanks. Saifulbahri Ismail, they're looking at how Indonesian authorities are covering fairly diverse, disparate diplomatic ground trips to Washington as well as to Russia. Saifulbahri Ismail there speaking to us from Jakarta.